writing strands for one thing to help them become good communicators. Then I would also recommend Jensen's format writing in the high school years. I think that is one of the absolute best writing courses. It covers different styles of writing that they would need for any college classes that they were going to be taking. No matter what field of study they're going into, if they are college bound, they're going to have to write papers in every class. And so I would recommend format writing to be sure to cover all of those different paper styles that they would go over for life and being good people and good Christians and leading others to Christ and pointing others to Christ. I would choose World Religions and Cults Comparative Religions course, because not only does it teach them and me, I love those books, I read through them, it teaches them about each religion and tells them a little bit about each religion, the history, the summaries, but it also teaches them and shows them how they can reach those that they might meet for Christ and how to have conversations with them. And I think that's very important because we have a wide variety of people in our life that we're going to come in contact with. Then also I would say the apologetics courses that go through the answers in Genesis 1, 2, 3, 4 books, those courses that we have, those are great for helping them to be able to answer the hard, difficult questions in life as Christians. So for me, those have been really important for my children. When they're college bound, they do have more limitations, specific things they have to take. When they're not, it can be more of their interest-led learning, making sure they have the right foundations, meeting them, starting them correctly at their academic level, not pushing them forward before they actually have those foundations, and then just taking it a day at a time and moving forward so you know they're ready and they're ready to enter those high school level courses. Hey, it's Rachel here. I'm going to answer some of your high school questions that you have. Just to tell you who I am, I'm Rachel. I work in customer service here with Masterbooks, so I'm happy to answer your questions when you email in and sometimes on the phone calls. So you may have spoken with me before, and so I'm very happy that I get to do that I get to help moms, help all of you Masterbooks moms. But also, I am a homeschool mom myself. I'm a homeschool mom of 4. We are in our 6th year of using Masterbooks. We have 4 children, and so I have 2 Masterbooks graduates. That one is a college freshman and one is a college sophomore. Then I also have a 10th grader and a 7th grader currently at home. So you guys have written in and given me some questions. Hi. You've written in and given me some questions, and so I'm going to go through some of these. We're going to make the these high school Q&As, we're going to have them for a few weeks in a row. So I won't be able to cover everything today. We're going to try to keep them a little short. I'm seeing everybody say hello. I'm going to try to keep them a little shorter so I don't take up a lot of your time. We're going to split the sessions up through the next few weeks. Many of you have high school credit questions, high school transcript questions. So that is going to be a whole video for next week. So if you have those high school transcript and high school credit questions, definitely tune in next week because I'm going to cover that. We'll go through a little bit again with our cumulative record. We have a transcript in there, just an outline of a possibility of how you could do your transcript. So we'll go through that next week as well and answer those transcript questions and credit questions that you all had. So I'm trying to pull up what I have right here from the questions that you gave to me. I know the first question that I saw was from J. Clark 10680 and asking, what did you use for math in high school? Masterbooks offers, we have Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 coming available very soon. So I would always say definitely check your state laws first and find out what you're required, but that's the typical would be Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. That's what I used with my children. Obviously, I did not use the Masterbooks Algebra 2 because it is just now becoming available. But those were the math courses that I personally used. Those are the math courses that we would recommend with Masterbooks. Then if you are looking for that higher math, obviously you're going to have to go outside of masterbooks, but those options would then be, trigonometry, calculus, and all of that. Analytical geometry, who knows? It could go on and on. There's many different places for that. So that answers Jay Clark. Carrie Bailey asked, what courses do you feel are best to equip them for the future? I don't want to overload my son, but I want him to be prepared for whatever course in life he takes. Any advice? Good question. So just overall, I feel like as homeschooling parents, and for me, myself, I'm just talking from my own personal opinion here, the biggest things for my children were that they are good communicators, that they can be great witnesses and testimonies for Christ, and that they do things that they love. And so, in that, I would say communication is one of the biggest things. So for that, I would recommend writing strands for one thing to help them become good communicators. Then I would also recommend Jensen's format writing in the high school years. I think that is one of the absolute best writing courses. It covers different styles of writing that they would need for any college classes that they were going to be taking. No matter what field of study they're going into, if they are college bound, they're going to have to write papers in every class. And so I would recommend format writing to be sure to cover all of those different paper styles that they would go over. As far as other, just for life and being good people and good Christians and leading others to Christ and pointing others to Christ, I would choose many of our masterbooks courses. But in our home especially, the World Religions and Cults Comparative Religions course, because not only does it teach them, and me, I love those books, I read through them, it teaches them about each religion and tells them a little bit about each religion, the history, the summaries, but it also teaches them and shows them how they can reach those that they might meet for Christ and how to have conversations with them. And I think that's very important because we have a wide variety of people in our life that we're going to come in contact with. Then also I would say the apologetics courses that go through the answers in Genesis 1, 2, 3, 4 books, those courses that we have, those are great for helping them to be able to just answer the hard, difficult questions in life as Christians. So for me, those have been really important for my children. Then also, again, courses that I just think are important to prepare them for the future. So this was really a broad question. I could go on. Logic, the logic class is amazing. And then also, I would say, I see everybody saying hey. Also, hello everybody. I would say one of the biggest ones for my kids has been the For You They Signed book. And that course I want to say is our, let me check real quick. Yeah, Christian Heritage. I want to make sure I named that. Christian Heritage course. Or that just goes through, again, our history as a country and our heritage as a country. So that was one that was really important for my family and my kids. They love that. My oldest daughter said that's one that she feels every Christian should have to take. And she said the same thing with the World Religions and Cultures Comparative Religions course that she took. And she is my college sophomore now. So that answers Carrie Bailey's course. What courses do you feel are best to equip them for the future? So that's just overall future life, not anything particular, just as to be good people and good Christians. Creation 58 asked, some guidance on order of courses would be amazing as far as literature, history, and science. Also, is literature alone enough, or do we need to add writing or grammar as well? So that was a question from Creation 58. So guidance on order of courses. I'm going to again refer you back to your state laws. HSLDA is a great place to check for that. Then also if you have a local homeschool group that you can find through social media, those local homeschool groups are also very helpful to point you in the right direction of what's required for your state. So you want to know, does your state require you to do some specific order for graduation? If so, you definitely want to follow that. If not, very typical masterbooks order of courses would be for, you said for literature, So for literature, again, you're going to do American literature, world literature, and then British literature. That's typically the progression. You might even want to bring in, we have other courses, you might want to bring in a classical Christian literature, things like that. If your state does not give you very specific requirements, of course, you could pick and choose and do whichever ones you feel are best or whichever ones are of most interest for your student. But that's the typical progression for literature. And then for history, the typical progression would be American history, world history, and then government and economics for that 11th grade year. And then that 12th grade year, you would have the option of choosing something different, or if your state gives you something specific. Again, check your state laws, but that would be the progression, the typical progression that masterbooks families use, the one that I've personally used with my children. And then you also asked with science. Same thing with science. Very typical would be that biology your freshman year, your state may require that they do a physical science or something, but so that's another one. So physical science, biology, and then a chemistry are very typical for the high school progression, but again, checking your state laws because that can vary. With my family, we did biology, we did chemistry, and then they chose, so we also used astronomy, applied engineering, so we've used several different courses, the general science courses. I did not have any very specific state laws on me, so I let my kids really just choose what they wanted to use for that. But that would be your typical progression. So that's a question from Creation 58. She also asked, is literature alone enough, or do we need to add writing and grammar as well? I'm going to say it again. Check your state laws and see what they require for you. But personally, I personally have done definitely covering grammar and writing with my children, and then I've used literature more as an elective, and so we have done literature, but we've also done those main language arts courses that would be considered grammar, right? The Jensen's courses, I'm a fan of those, so I've used the Jensen's courses that we have at Masterbooks, and I've used the grammar, punctuation, vocabulary, and format writing, and then I also pulled in 2 years of literature, at least 2 years of literature with them, where we covered some American literature, world literature, or classical literature. So, but that's really what your state laws would be requiring. And then if they don't have anything specific, what your own personal preference is, what your kids are interested in learning. If they have specific colleges they want to go to and they already know and they're going in some certain direction that's going to be a language arts based type of degree, you'll want to check with that college. So that's what I would recommend for that, for language arts and adding in the writing and grammar. Okay, so Rachel Booth, she asked, how do you handle grading? Are grades important for their records for college-bound students? Do you grade all homework or just tests? And open book or closed book for tests? So Rachel has lots of questions. Okay, so for me, personally, for grading, and other moms might have something different that they do and definitely step in. For me personally, for grading at the high school level, I do grade daily work. Well, I have my children grade their daily work. And in the Masterbook schedule, where it has the little boxes by each day for them to put, I have them put the day they completed it in that daily grade. And what I mean by that is if there were 10 questions that day, they're going to check their work, and if they got 8 of them correct, they're going to write 8 over 10. And that lets me know how they're doing. And I do take all of those and I average them and I give them a daily grade as well as grading their tests and all of that. I don't want to grade them just on tests and have that be their grade that I use on a transcript, because some people are just not good test takers and I don't think that's very fair. So I definitely do use a daily grade with them, and those daily grades are usually pretty good, and so so that helps them and that boosts their confidence a little bit there. So that's what I do with grading. Grades are important for most college-bound students in their transcripts, that they want to see that number grade there. That's also helps in determining GPA scores and things like that, depending on how your GPA is done. You definitely want to check with if they're college bound, what their college is looking for. But I personally do think grades are important at the high school level, that you actually have a number grade. Again, personal preference and what my own experience has been. Other moms may have something different. Okay, open book or closed book for tests? Both. I am a homeschool mom, and we are finishing our 8th year. But prior to homeschooling my children, I was a high school English teacher for 15 years. In my classroom, I made the decisions. Sometimes I had open book tests, sometimes we didn't. But it was totally up to me. I didn't ask a parent what they thought I should do. I didn't ask a principal. I made the decision in my classroom based on what I felt the students needed for that particular lesson or unit or whatever. So I would say the same thing in your home. You can make that decision. If you feel like they need an open book for something, you could do open book. I typically, if it's something I know they're going to struggle with, and this is what I did a lot in my classroom too, they would have so long, they would do as much as they could on their own without looking in the book, and then I would give them a few minutes to look in the book. So I think looking in the book is also a good way to learn as well, because you are having to go back and review and refresh. And we live in a world now where everything's at our fingertips. And so as long as we can access the information, that's really what's important, rather than just memorizing it for the test. It's knowing where to find it and then knowing how to use it. So, I'm for both. I'm for a good balance there. My husband often says, and makes fun of how many times his math teacher told him that he wasn't, because he's not good with math, how many times his math teacher told him he wasn't going to have a calculator in his pocket all the time. And so he brings that up often now, that he always has a calculator in his pocket because of our phones that we have right now. So I do see several comments here. I'm kind of focusing right here on the ones that you guys have already written in, so I'm sorry if I'm avoiding these. I will definitely try to go back and pick up on them. I do see you guys responding here and asking some other questions. Okay, so next question here is Amanda, and I'm going to butcher your last name, Pietrucha? I'm not sure. I'm sorry, Amanda. She says, I have an upcoming 9th grader and wonder about testing, grading, keeping track of progress, and how do you draft transcripts for college entry. And so we talked a little bit about it here with testing and all of that, but next week's live will be all about transcripts and keeping record of credits and how to record credits and all of that. So you definitely want to catch next week's live for Masterbooks High School. Mama Ashley asked me, would you choose your curriculum differently if your student planned to go into a trade and not college? Probably. So I do have 2 students currently in college, 2 graduates, and then I have a 10th grader and a 7th grader. My 7th grader may or may not go to college. That is still definitely up in the air for him. And so with that decision, with my older children, knowing that they were going to college, we early on made sure that we were in communication with those colleges, read up and aware of what those colleges were expecting. My oldest child is studying for education and counseling. So education is her major and counseling is her minor. I know it's kind of a strange combo. She does feel like she will go into the ministry one day, so she wanted to have that counseling brought in, so she chose that. My second child is in advertising and public relations and graphic design. And so we knew very specifically what we were looking for, what their colleges were looking for them to go. My 10th grader, he is making decisions now, but he does feel like he's going to go to college, so we again have him on that college-bound track. My 7th grader, I'm not sure. So with him possibly not going, I I will probably give him more options than my others had. My others who knew, we very specifically planned their high school courses for what was going to be expected. With my one who may or may not, I will probably plan his courses more on the trades that interest him most. I'm already looking into getting him into some local like apprenticeship programs if we can, where he's like shadowing some people and learning different trades that way. This son, we had a big flood, like our baptistry flooded at our church, and so we had to have men and people there working and cleaning, and we had a platform in front of it, and water was just all underneath that platform, and so someone had to get under there and suck all that water up and everything. So while my son it's disgusting under there, he was the one that wanted to go under and do it. All the other men are like, gladly, sure, let him climb under there and suck all that water up. He did it, and it was like he was in his element, and he loved it. And he was like, can I earn money? Can I make a living doing this? And so we're like, yeah. So anyway, so who knows? But we're going to let him get opportunities like that. And then in choosing his courses, we'll probably choose things, give him just the ability to choose what he's interested in and what he wants to learn. Because we won't have to be gearing that specifically for a college. The goal is in education, and for me, for homeschooling, is also that they love learning. It's not just that they're cramming information into their brains, whereas when they're college bound, they do have more limitations, specific things they have to take. When they're not, it can be more of their interest-led learning. So that's probably how I'm going to approach it, approach high school with my 7th grader. Obviously, also being aware that if he changes his mind, that we've also set some things in place for that too. But anyway, so my 7th grader is going to be one of those service pro people that comes and cleans up the messes after everybody right now. Okay, let's see. What kind of information do colleges need? That's a question from Amy M. Tuttle, 91. That's really going to vary per college. So you want to, if you already know what colleges your children are interested in, you want to touch base with them. See if they have some type of admissions counselor that you can speak with, or if on their websites they have that information for each degree that your child wants to pursue. So that's really varies from every college of what they're looking for. They might be looking to see community service hours recorded. You never know. You definitely want to check base with your colleges for that. Okay, Kat asked, marking, do you do it daily, weekly? Do you get your teen to mark their own worksheets? So I if you missed it, I did answer that one. We do it daily. My children do it daily. I do get them to mark their own daily work. And then I grade quizzes and tests, and I typically do that on the weekend. I'm not going to say I do it every weekend. I mean, I can get a stack of papers just like everybody else, and so right now I do have a stack of those papers because it's been a couple of weeks. But every child of mine has a little file box that they put their papers in that I need to grade. So, but their daily work, they grade daily. So D Family of 5 asked, what are some health and physical education credit options? Okay, right now Masterbooks doesn't have any of those, and so you're going to want to check what your local laws allow for that to apply for those for you, as far as what counts for their physical ed. My children had the ability, we had a co-op that they attended weekly, my older children, so they had the opportunity to actually attend a PE class, and they're played on a traveling sports team and that kind of stuff. So you just want to check your state laws, but Masterbooks doesn't have anything for that at this time. Okay, Kara asked, are any of high school Masterbooks considered honors? If so, which ones? Are there plans to do a U.S. history course? With biology course, when is an appropriate time to purchase the supply kit? So Kara has several questions. Masterbooks high school courses, none of them are considered honors courses. You want to, again, check your local state laws and what they describe as an honors course. you might be able to take a masterbooks course and add to it to make it apply to that. You might find that something already applies to what your state. So that's something you definitely want to check your state laws, but none of our courses are already considered an honors course. Are there plans to do a U.S. history course? We do have American history by Stovall, and then we have some others that focus on early American history. So I'm not sure that I know what you're asking there, other than we do have U.S. history courses. So you might be asking something else. I'm not sure. With biology course, when is the appropriate time to purchase the supply kit? The biology supply kit does have those dissections, the creatures in there to dissect. They are vacuum sealed in individual bags. The company says that if you keep them at a cool, dry, dark place like a closet or inside of a cabinet or something, that they can last up to 12 months unopened. So, you want to play that off as far as when you think you're going to do those dissections. The dissections are in the second half of the year, so keep that in mind. But you could I would recommend purchasing it early on in the summer before. You don't want to wait too close, because that's when you're going to get into our busy season. But they will last if kept and stored properly for up to 12 months. So keep that in mind, that the dissections are the second half of the year, though. E.C. Smith 98 also asked, did you make any of the masterbook courses honor courses? Is that necessary? Again, I answered that. None of our courses are already labeled honors courses. Are they necessary? My personal children did not take any honors courses. They don't have those recorded on their transcripts. But you want to, again, depends on what college your student's going to, what major they're pursuing, of whether or not that's going to be required. So you want to, again, look towards your student's future, where they plan to go to college, and what's going to be expected of them on that. Okay, I am seeing some of the questions here. I'm going to be able to look at some of these here again. Let's see. I see Libby. Now I'm moving on to some of the questions that were in our Facebook group. Libby says, I don't have a high schooler, but I'd still love to know more about what you did or wish you had done in the elementary and middle school years to prepare for Masterbooks High School. I don't know that I have a good answer for you, Libby. I'm sorry. What I did, honestly, to prepare them was I just kept moving forward through the progression. We did the placement test to see where they actually academically were. I'm a big fan of the placement tests and placing your child academically in the correct level. So we did that from the beginning. My girls actually began using Masterbooks at their junior high level. Well, my youngest one, not my youngest child, but my two that are in college, my second daughter, she began in her junior high years. My oldest began Masterbooks in her high school years. And so necessarily, they didn't have all the placement tests and everything, but I began them at their levels and then just moved forward. My younger two, we did begin in the elementary with Masterbooks, and again, I just placed them at their levels, and I'm just moving forward. So I guess it's just always moving forward, slowing down and backing up, which I did make a post recently about my 7th grade son, who is actually only in math lessons and language lessons level 6. We were in math lessons level 5 and language lessons level 5 for a very long time. I felt like he wasn't grasping things as he should, so we actually backed up, started over. I felt like his foundation wasn't there, so I guess that would be my thing. I think making sure they have the right foundation and that you're not pushing them into those upper level courses before they're ready, because then you're only going to be causing frustration for you and frustration for them. And so I know that's maybe not the great answer you want to hear, but for me, that's just it. It's meeting them, starting them correctly at their academic level, not pushing them forward before they actually have those foundations, and then just taking it a day at a time and moving forward so you know they're ready and they're ready to enter those high school level courses. So anyway, I hope that helps a little bit. Okay, Catherine Rosario asked, I am anxious about a student who is behind in math going into 9th grade next year. So we did have a few people asking questions about a student that's behind. So I'm probably going to touch base on that next week when we talk about transcripts. But again, I would say you want to check your state laws and your state requirements. But as I just now finished talking about, I'm a big proponent of meeting them at their academic level. So you want to see what you are required to do and if your state gives you anything specific. But other than that, you can, hopefully your state will allow it, but you can record things as remedial classes, or, you can say that it's a pre-algebra class or things like that. And also, it may take them a little bit longer to finish some things, but we'll talk about that next week when we talk about transcripts and stuff like that. What if Jill Swartout asked, what if any extracurricular classes does Masterbooks offer? Extracurricular, we have electives, but we don't have any extracurricular classes for the high school level. As far as what I'm thinking, I'm not sure exactly what you're thinking of extracurricular. If you're thinking like physical, like PE or things like that, we don't have anything. But as far as electives, we do have electives that they could have options for, and you can find that on the website. If you go to homeschool subject electives, it will list all of our electives for the high school there. But you may be thinking of something different. I'm sorry if I'm not able to answer that. Again, someone asked about transcripts, testing, and grading. We'll cover that all next week. Julie Hendry, I struggle to see how Masterbooks covers all language arts for high school. What is the recommendation of profession of classes? Masterbooks does cover definitely everything for language arts for high school. We have different options. We have writing strands. We have the Jensen's, which has 4 books, and then also we have different literature courses. So definitely everything is included. You have plenty of options. My family, we personally have used Jensen's. We used my second child, who is a college freshman this year. She did all 4 Jensen's books from 9th grade through. So her progression was, we did Jensen's grammar, Jensen's punctuation. With punctuation, I also did vocabulary. Vocabulary has an option to do a 1-year plan or a 2-year plan. So I did that. I used that 2-year plan covering the same material. It's just spread out a little differently. And then also you're adding in that last semester of vocabulary is adding in our Greek. But we split vocabulary over 2 years. So we did Jensen's grammar, Jensen's punctuation with vocabulary, 2 years, and then the last year she also did Jensen's format writing. Well, her freshman year, before entering, she had to take a test for language arts to see what she was qualified for in school, if she could skip anything. And she actually tested out of the first class altogether and then was given a test to test out of the second class. She chose not to take that second test because she didn't want her first year to be too difficult. And so, because if not, she would have taken, there was a third English she would have taken in its place. And so she chose to only test out of the first one because she didn't want her freshman year to be too difficult. But anyway, Jensen's prepared her for that. So she was well covered. And then also we did 2 years of literature. So Masterbooks definitely covers everything for language arts. Plenty of options there for high school. Let's see. I've talked a good 30 minutes now, so I'm kind of going to cut it off at this point. Next week, we'll come back and do transcripts and grading and keeping up with credits and talk about the cumulative record a little bit and the transcript form that we have in there. And then I'll also go through your questions here that you have. I'll answer some of them in the comments, and then some of them I may save to talk about later on in a video, because again, we will be doing these for a few weeks, answering your questions. So if you have others, don't hesitate to post them, and so we can make sure we get those answered. If you are a mom, and of course you're mom. If you are a high school mom and you have other things to add, again, you may be doing something differently. I'm just answering from my experience, my point of view, but you may have a different experience. So definitely share what you've done in those cases. If someone asks a question, that you've done something a little different than how I've done, because one of the joys of homeschooling is that you're the mom, you know what's best for your child, and you get to make those decisions for them along with them. And so my way might not necessarily be your way, and that's definitely okay. That's one of the perks of homeschooling, is we get to lead our children in the best way that we feel is fit for them. But I'm glad to be able to do these and help you out a little bit. Again, I'm Rachel, and homeschool mom of 4 here myself. And so I look forward to talking to y'all next week. Have a great day.